All right, PSA just confirmed what a lot of us already suspected. Fraud in the hobby is out of control, and it's not just chasing Wagners and Mantles anymore. They're faking your $100 Brady rookie because it flips for 1,700 graded, point blank period. So we sat down and mapped out what actually fixes this. Card DNA, provenance history, theft recovery infrastructure. And let me walk you through it because this is where the hobby has to go. So the problem, let's start with the numbers because they're alarming. PSA just released their 2025 fraud report, and here's what jumped out. They intercepted an estimated 200 million in fraudulent cards last year. The counterfeit rate as a percentage of total submissions is up 250%. Pokemon fakes specifically, they're up 125% year over year. And altered cards that start authentic but get trimmed or recolored to look like higher grades, that's up 109%. And here's what really got my attention, because it's not just the Honus Wagner, where, by the way, 12 out of 13 submitted in 2025 were fake. 12 out of 13. Think about that. It's not just the 1952 Mantle, where 62% of submissions were fraudulent. They're now faking Tom Brady 2000 Skybox Impact rookies. A card that raw goes for around $100. And why? Well, because PSA 10 of the same card averages $1,377. $1,377. That's the math counterfeiters are doing right now. They don't need to fake a Wagner. They just need volume on mid-range cards, and collectors aren't watching as closely. And here's the part that PSA's own president said out loud. The technology to print fake cards is cheaper and more accessible than it's ever been. So you got a booming market, newer collectors who aren't as sophisticated yet, printing technology that's getting better by the month on the wrong side of this. So that's the problem. Now let's talk about the solutions, because that's where things get a little bit interesting. All right, let's start with the one that gets me the most excited, and honestly, the one that should have existed 10 years ago. So that's digital fingerprinting. But not in some abstract tech bro way. Physically, on the card itself. So you know how US currency works. You flip a $100 bill over and look at the micro printing along the edges. Tiny, precise, nearly impossible to replicate without the exact same manufacturing process. Now just imagine that on your cards. Any card above a base card, your rookies, your parallels, your hits, get a microscopic print identifier embedded right along the back edge of the cardstock, invisible to the naked eye in normal light, completely visible under the right scanner. You're not changing the look of the card. You're not slapping a sticker on it. It's built into the printing process itself, just like currency. That alone kills a massive percentage of the counterfeit market overnight, because the thing about counterfeit is they're good at copying what you can see, but they're terrible at replicating what you can't. But here's where it gets really interesting for the high end. Things like national treasures and flawless cards, one of ones, the cards that are moving 5, 6, 7 figures, put a chipset in them. You're already putting the patch in there most of the time, and it's a thick card anyway. I'm serious. We're putting NFC chips in sneakers, in luxury handbags, and pharmaceutical packaging to prevent counterfeiting. Your Patrick Mahomes Logo Man one of one is worth more than most people's cars, and it has zero embedded technology in it. That's wild when you think about it. A scanning chip embedded into premium card stock that holds the card's authentication data, its serial number, its production verification, all of it locked and encrypted so it can't be spoofed. Pull out your phone, tap the card, verified, done. The technology already exists, and so thin it's like paper. It's being used right now in industries that take asset protection seriously. The question is whether the hobby is ready to demand that manufacturers treat a $500,000 card the way a Rolex treats a $50,000 watch, because right now, it's not even close. So solution number 2 is card provenance, and it's kind of like a Carfax for cards, right? So once you have that fingerprint on the card, the next layer is the provenance. Think of it, like I said, Carfax, but for cards. Every time that card changes hands, something gets recorded. Grading history, auction results, ownership transfers, vault transfers, marketplace listings, theft status, authenticity verification timelines. The card builds a story over time, and that story becomes a trust layer. And to be honest, right now, the newer collectors and the newer flippers and whatnot, the kids, they don't care about the history of the card anymore. And that used to be the most fun part of collecting. Right now, when you buy a graded card, you get a label and a grade. That's it. You have no idea where the card's been unless it's been vaulted, who owned it, whether it's been submitted multiple times, whether it's ever been flagged, has it ever been a 9, then cracked to a 10, whatever. With provenance infrastructure, you know all of that. And here's a real example of why it matters. So the one authentic Honus Wagner that came through PSA in 2025 the Shields family, Wagner, had been held by the same family for over 100 years before selling it golden for $5.1 million. That Provenance story was a massive part of what made it credible. Every card deserves a version of that story. And here's the commercial reality. Cards with clean, verifiable provenance are going to command a premium over cards without it, just like a car with spotless Carfax commands more than one with question marks in its history. The hobby is moving from graded versus raw to trusted versus untrusted. Write that down. This is where this is going. Now, let's talk about what else manufacturers could be doing at the factory level, because grading companies can't be the only one line of defense here. So, we've already mentioned a couple things, but think about how modern currency works, how passports work, how concert tickets work now. UV reactive ink, microtext, holographic layering, infrared markers, hidden watermarks, embedded fibers, edge security patterns. None of this is visible to the naked eye, but all of it's detectable with the right tools. Premium cards like RPAs, Kabooms, Downtowns, premium Pokémon hits on card autos should all have baked in at the factory. The technology exists. It's used every single day in industries where authenticity has legal and financial consequences, which is where the card market is headed now. The question is whether card manufacturers are willing to invest in it. And honestly, they haven't had to yet because collectors haven't demanded it loudly enough. But with a $200 million in fakes hitting the market in a single year, that conversation is coming whether manufacturers want it or not. Another less thought of one, I guess, would be a factory image registry. So here's one that lives entirely on the manufacturer side and could change everything about how authentication works. It's a factory image registry repository. Before a card ever leaves production, it gets pre-scanned, every authentic foil pattern, every dimension, print alignment, stock texture, color mapping, every parallel variation documented at the source. That becomes the universal verification baseline, the truth. And here's why that matters, right? So right now, the entire authentication industry is reactive. Fake card gets submitted, grader catches it or doesn't, collector gets burned or doesn't. A factory registry flips that completely. You're building the ground truth before any fraud even has the chance to enter the ecosystem. Every grading company, every marketplace, every dealer network gets access to the same baseline. That's not one company solving a problem. That's the industry solving it all together. Now, this does nothing for any cards that have come out previous to these, this situation. But moving forward, this is the way we can protect cards for the future. Now, a lot of this can lead into theft recovery infrastructure, right? So something that doesn't get clearly enough attention is this. And if you think about all of the thefts that are happening, the break-ins, our local card shop just got broken into and they tried to walk away with $45,000 worth of inventory. Luckily, the police responded quickly. They caught the guys. They also returned most of the product to the company, which is great. But, there's ways that we can have this stuff put into place so that we can track stolen items. So as we've seen, collections get stolen. Cards disappear. And right now, when that happens, the options are limited. You post on Reddit, you post on Instagram, right? You hope someone sees it. You file a police report that goes absolutely nowhere most of the time. And that card hits eBay 2 states away, gone. What if instead a collector could flag a stolen card and that alert immediately propagated to every major marketplace, every grading company, every auction house, every dealer network, every inventory system simultaneously? That moment someone tries to sell it, list it, or submit it for grading, a flag goes up. Stolen inventory becomes nearly impossible to liquidate, especially if it's a serial numbered card. This already exists in other asset classes. Flag a stolen car, that information moves through the network instantly. Dealerships, auctions, registries, they all see it in real time. Cards are assets now. High value assets, most cases. They need asset level protection infrastructure. And the hobby can't keep treating a $50,000 prism like it's a baseball hat. So the last piece of this puzzle is making all of it accessible at the exact point of sale. So a marketplace verification API where platforms like eBay, Whatnot, Fanatics Live, Golden, Alt, and yes, even Hobbycomp soon enough, can verify a card in real time before a transaction ever closes. Imagine seeing this when you're about to pull the trigger on a purchase. Authentic fingerprint confirmed, ownership history verified, no duplicate serial conflicts. Or on the other side of that, theft alert active, image mismatch detected, counterfeit probability flagged. This is not science fiction. This is an engineering problem with a known solution. And built into this is duplicate serial detection. Because of one of the oldest scams in the hobby is listing the same card multiple times or faking a one of one and claiming 2 copies exist elsewhere in the world. A system that cross-references every serial number across every active listing and flags conflicts in real time shuts that down cold. No more mystery, no more hoping the seller is honest. The card either checks out or it doesn't. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. PSA catching 200 million in fakes is impressive. Their AI is getting better every month. Their imaging is getting sharper. Humans and technology working together, and that matters. And it's working to a point. But PSA is one company operating inside their own walls, solving this problem after it's already entered the ecosystem. So what the hobby needs, what it's never had, is shared infrastructure. A fingerprint built into the card at the factory, a provenance layer that follows the card its entire life, embedded security that makes counterfeiting exponentially harder before a card ever hits the market, theft recovery that actually works across the entire ecosystem, and verification that happens at the point of sale, not weeks later in the grading room. The next era of the hobby is not going to be defined by which cards are the rarest. It's going to be defined by which cards are the most trusted. That trust has to be built into the infrastructure of the hobby itself, not patched in after the fact. That's the gap. That's what's missing. And that's exactly the space we're focused on building. If you're a collector, a dealer, a marketplace, a manufacturer, this conversation is about you. The fraud problem is real. It's accelerating. And the solution isn't one grading company catching fakes one submission at a time. It's infrastructure. It's technology. It's the people willing to build the trust layer this hobby has always deserved, but has never had. It's one thing that Hobbycomp is here for. Drop a comment. Which of the solutions do you think the hobby needs to prioritize first? Genuinely want to know where the community is at on this. And if this video hit different, share it with somebody in the hobby. This conversation needs to be louder. We'll see you in the next one. But until then, we're here for confidence that you can collect with.